37. Aunt Nancy, we did it, I said, giving her a big hug. But how did you do that? You came up with a clever plan, Javi, she said sweetly. And don't you forget it. I just told him to go home. And now you know what lives in the basement. She winked, and I felt like $1,000,000 for approximately 2 seconds until I remembered. Wait, Blackbeard! We're doomed! I raced to the ship, imagining what must have happened while we were duking it out with a psychotic dragon. Blackbeard probably captured the teachers and was in the process of chopping off Kid Mozart's head. Oh no! Poor headless Mozart! I was so in my own head that I didn't notice Aunt Nancy chuckling as she jogged behind me. When we walked across the gangplank, we were greeted by Frida and Ahab. Behind them were 50-odd pirates tied up. But that didn't quite look like rope. What about Blackbeard? The pirates had the upper hand. Beardo was tied up extra tight in the middle of the ship, cursing quietly. Javi, Aunt Nancy said, putting her arm on my shoulder. Don't you worry about it. The ninja took care of the pirates, and the captain took care of Blackbeard. The dragon was the perfect distraction. I told you he wasn't a true captain, Ahab chuckled. Just a stinkin' pirate. The rest of the faculty were either getting out of the pool and joining us, or on the ship and making sure the pirates were tied up tight. Antar was trotting his horse back and forth on the deck and pointing his sword at any scallywags that were getting too loud, while Anzo and Wiki inspected an extra-large pirate. I walked over as Anzo pulled a little bit of rope off and studied it, showing it to us. It wasn't rope at all, more like silk or something even thinner and stickier. Weird. Where is Broceliandos? Ms. Bladd asked as she climbed up the gangplank, squeezing the water out of her hair. Just as I was starting to feel good, I remembered. Hyde destroyed him. Jekyll looked at me sheepishly. We walked over to the spot where Andy's remains were scattered. Gail, Brady, Wiki, and the teachers were standing over them, staring down sadly. I'm at a loss, Gail said quietly. Broceliandos. Brady started crying softly. Wiki's eyes were welling up with tears. Aunt Nancy walked over to Andy, smiling. She patted Gail on the back and shook her head. Why the tears, Dorothy? Do you think this is the first time someone's tried to destroy Broceliandos? She leaned over the remains of the table. Hey, B, stop being so dramatic and making everyone cry already. There was a whooshing noise, and it felt like all the air in the room was sucked into a vortex right in front of us. Then I noticed all the little fragments of wood trembling on the ground, jittery, wildly. And all at once, they magnetized together and whisk! There was Andy, good as new, purring louder than ever. Andy! Brady yelled, jumping on him and giving him a huge hug. Oh, thank goodness, Gail gasped. Wiki and I just hollered and clapped awkwardly because we were excited and didn't know what else to do. That's more like it, Aunt Nancy said, winking at me. Now, let's send those jokers back to their homes. Between the teachers and Brady's squad, we made short work of it. They plopped each pirate on Andy's chairs, and Brady insisted on ringing the bell every time, saying, Take that, suckers, or See you never, sewer stench, as she bandaged them away. The enormous pirate ship floating in the pool took a few minutes to figure out, but Brady put a chair on its deck, rang the bell, and the whole thing vanished. For a second, she was suspended 50 feet in the air, and then she did the most epic cannonball of all time. Leave it to Brady to make anything into an extreme sport. Blackbeard was the last to go. You're going to lead me to that grisly death, are you? He asked quietly, but a little afraid. Brady shook her head. Stop being the world's deadliest pirate, and I bet you can 100% avoid it. He gave her a small nod, like he was actually considering it. Then she got really close and whispered in his ear. Now, find yourself another pirate queen, you scurvy dog, as she rang the bell in his face. Poof! The guy who almost murdered us 12 times, gone. just like that. Well done, everyone, Aunt Nancy said as she took a few steps away from the group. She waved at Principal Gale. Until next time. Then her body stretched and mutated in front of us until she transformed into a giant spider and scuttled away on 8 enormous legs. What? Half of us froze in shock, though none of the teachers seemed too surprised. Vicky looked at the spider, then at me, then back at the spider, then at me. Avi, I don't know how to put this. Did my aunt just turn into a spider? Yeah. Yes, she did. You know what? That actually explains a lot. I picked up some of the spider web that had tied up the pirates. Principal Gale smiled and patted me on the back. It's a long story, Avi. Maybe it's a story we can share over dinner, Kid Mozart asked, walking up to us. I see a dinner table that's itching for some company. Oh,